That's
Got
the
it.
one. That's it. I'm in love.
Love it.
So it just seemed to fit because what we're wanting to do is really be a place for investors from start to finish, not just for the property management side, but because I also dabble in sales because, why not? Let's keep things interesting. So I really want to be there for that whole process because, when you think about it, typical agencies, they look at you're either a PM or you're a sales agent.
Hey, welcome to the show, Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business. This is Coach James Short, aka Shorty. And this is a show for those within the real estate industry wanting to lead and grow their real estate business. It's a series of interviews that we conduct for those within the industry. So we're finding out what those leaders are within the industry, what makes them tick, what's their story, what are their strategies, and how to become the leaders and the growers within the industry. But also it's an interview series with those outside of the industry. I'm always a big believer of looking at a whole different part of the pie rather than just focusing on one part of the pie. Because what it does, it allows you to have a different perspective, allows you to get snippets or golden nuggets from those outside of the industry that can look into the industry and go, there's a different perspective. And so I encourage you to reach out to the guests. I encourage you to lean into these series to find out how can these pieces of information, experiences, stories help you lead and grow your real estate business. And welcome back to another edition. And we're excited to have this next guest back onto the show. Simone Fogarty is a multi-award-winning property manager, real estate director, and investor advocate based in Orange, New South Wales. With over 17 years of industry experience, she's just embarking on a new journey as of the 1st of July's rebranding to Eleve Realty, and a recognized lead in property management innovation, client education, and team development. Simone serves on the REI New South Wales board and property management chapter and is passionate about raising industry standards while mentoring the next generation of property professionals. She is known for her practical, no-nonsense advice, commitment to compliance, and deep understanding on the investor journey. Today, we're going to be talking about the leap to leadership, so buying out her business partner and taking full control. We're going to be also diving into building from the ground up, rebranding to Eleve Realty and starting fresh, and streamlining success, how she systemized her agency for efficiency and growth, and also from property manager to property mentor, creating a team culture that grows with you. It's an honor and a privilege to have her back on the show. Simone, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, James, for having me on again.
A lot has been happening. So we're on, 8 to 12 months ago now. Tell me about, let's unpack that transition from where you were to where you are today. What have been some of those wins, some of those headaches? What's that journey been like over that time period?
Oh, look, it's been a lot. So obviously with looking out of purchasing and buying out my business partner. Obviously, if anyone's looking at doing this as well, first stage is always your due diligence stage. So even though I was working in the business, I did get a full business audit completed so that we could check all of our policies, procedures, because obviously someone else was handling that side of things. And I just wanted to make sure I had a really good overall holistic view and not just sort of my chair of where I was sitting, so that, taking the leap and, going out on my own, that I could make sure that those foundations were really, correct from the beginning, because I think that's so important when you're looking at, firstly growing out on your own or growing or scaling. If you don't have those foundations, correct, then it can just tumble in a heap. So obviously, doing through the due diligence stage, went through the policies and procedures and just found some, a few little holes and things that I thought, look, if for me to really be comfortable with moving forward, I decided to redo the whole lot from ground up. So we sort of had a little basis to go off, but there was, areas that I wanted to make sure were really squeaky clean. So that was sort of the first step of all of it. And then really looking at the systems that we were already using to see what else was out there, not only to make, our lives and my girls' life easier, but also a better client experience for our landlords and tenants. So before that, we were using, quite a few multiple systems because, one didn't really sort of cut the mustard. Then you had to have different bolt-on programs. So I decided to change over to ALO because a lot of the functionality of that what it has and led us to go back to sort of one main program where tenants and owners can use rather than having, a program purely for, the ledgers and maintaining the tenancy, a different repair and maintenance system, a different inspection system. It just gets a lot. So I really wanted to try and simplify and streamline everything so that, and basically I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, I may as well do it all at once and get it over and done with. So
rip the Band-Aid off.
rip the Band-Aid off completely. Halfway through was I regretting my decision a little bit, feeling a little bit crazy because I was like, okay, so new system. We changed our CRM platform as well. We changed our online document management system. We were using a OneDrive. We've changed that over to SharePoint. And I decided with that, change how we were storing all the documents and how they were filed and formatted so that it's, again, easier and streamlined. Once it's all done, which we're pretty much all done now, which is nice, but getting there, it's just very sort of, time consuming because, I just wanted to make sure that everything was squeaky clean and as I wanted it. So then as you go through, everything just flows nice and easily. So yeah, there's been a lot. And then developing my little AI bots to sort of help with different things along the way has been really helpful. And then throw in running the business, rebranding, that was fun. Choosing colors and all of that sort of things. And yeah, now I'm sort of feeling like everything's
you're breathing.
calming down. Yes, still breathing, still kicking. Takes a lot to get me down, but it has been stressful. I'm not going to lie. It has been, and you've sort of got to. I think the main thing that I had to focus on, because when you've got so many balls up in the air, it can get really challenging and overwhelming. You're like, I've got to do this and this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, right, just go back to basics. Write a list. The three main things you want to get done today and get those done. And then just start ticking things off because otherwise it can get very, with whatever you're doing, even just during your day, if you put your most important things of what you want to achieve for the day, tick those off because then you feel like you're getting some wins and it's not just, oh, but I didn't do this or this or this. Yeah, but I did this. So that's what we were doing today. Focus on the next day tomorrow.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So take me back to when you're doing the DD, the due diligence, and you mentioned about looking at the foundations. Was there something specifically that you're looking for, or were you just waiting for the audit to come back and then go, okay, where's the gap, or go exploring in more details? Where was your thought process around that?
No, it was just to ensure that there weren't any gaps so that if there were, I could get those rectified and fill them and fill in any voids that we may have had or, areas where the previous policies and procedures maybe weren't as up to date as they should be if, things have changed and legislation changes as well. So that's, been a big one for a lot of people in the industry because, with all the changes of legislation, even if you've had your good policies and procedures, when legislation changes, if you don't update it, then you've got a little gap. And, it's easy for things to, get missed because we all get, wrapped up in sort of more of the dollar producing tasks, getting more listings, getting more managements or more properties for sale. Sometimes those foundations and really that, the policy procedure side and compliance side. And it's not a fun job. It's probably, the most dulling sector of the industry, but the compliance side, and especially like with fair training being so, getting very heavily invested and, getting auditors out there and investigators undercover, it's really one of those things that if you haven't sort of looked at your policies and procedures, even just within the last 12 months, it's something you sort of really need to revisit and scheduled so that you do it sort of annually or as legislation changes. Because if you do things bit by bit, it doesn't seem so much. But if you sort of, or do what I did and just thought, well, no, let's just go again. Let's rewrite the whole book. Then it can be, It can be a little
A
bit,
lot.
yeah, brain numbing, but it's good. It gives you a good sense of accomplishment, and that from the get-go that everything is there for what we need, and the support systems and all the information for the staff, so that it's there and nice and easy to find.
Fantastic. And hindsight is amazing. If you look back at the due diligence process, is there anything that you would have done differently, or if you would have changed now with hindsight?
Uh, Look, probably starting it a bit earlier.
Yep.
Because obviously sometimes you don't realize how much time is actually involved. And when you start doing a deep dive into like the business and the mechanics,
Mm.
You don't really know what you're going to find until you find it. And then when you find it, you think, oh gosh, I need to just get this done and still do, the normal day-to-day running of the business, managing teams and things like that. So I think that would be my biggest thing. If it's something you're looking at doing it, always give yourself more time, even though generally you'll find or I do find a way to get it done. The less time that you have, the more stressful it is, and when things can get missed. So just allow plenty of time.
Right. Yeah, that's a great response. Thank you. How have you, now that you're running the full show, how have you changed as a leader, if at all? And what have you learnt about yourself around this change process of buying out your business partner, redoing the policies, rebranding? What have you learnt about yourself as a leader as well?
I think that I'm still very early on in my leadership journey, because I, was so used to doing everything like myself previously, and now getting to the point where, we've got, quite a lot going on. I know that I need to, and I don't want to use the word delegate, because I really hate the word delegate. I like being able to work with my team and see what their strengths and weaknesses are and share the tasks, because, I think a good leader more shares responsibility and works with people's strengths and weaknesses rather than just delegates. Because I think when you look at someone who just delegates, they may not fully understand the task that you're wanting that person to do. So I, always like to lead from the front and get in the trenches with the girls. And if there's an issue, then I'll jump in, or if there's something, they're not comfortable with, until they've got that level of confidence to be able to maybe manage that moving forward. So I think, yeah, being able to, have the understanding and knowing what you're asking of the team helps you be a better leader, because, you know what they're going through.
Yep.
And I think that's where a lot of, some officers struggle if they've got a sales and PM side. If the director is very heavily sales based, they don't know the pain points and, the stresses that can come
Big
from the
time.
PM side, because they haven't lived and breathed it. It's the two very different mindsets. And so with the rebrand, and like with the office, like I've sort of thought, well, how can I make this, an inspiring, fun place to work? With the girls, we've got an amazing space, which we absolutely love. We've got just little things, the kitchen's stocked up with some goodies, teas, coffees, chips, snacks, whatever. If you're wanting something or a bit peckish, or like me, half the time you think, oh, I haven't eaten today, I'll just go and grab something. Then you can easily. And we're in the process, we haven't done it yet, but we're going to make up a quote wall. And so we'll get the girls to pick out, say, 5 quotes, and then we're just going to stick them up on the wall, and then every quarter go through those and change them. So at least it's sort of, being something to be inspired with. And like I had thought of just getting the quote wall done, but then I wanted it, to be able to change it. And, because everyone's going through a different journey, and want the girls to feel a part of the decision-making process, and, continuing to help them grow in their careers as well, and, work with them as to what their, goals and outcomes are. And so I think that's another big thing about a leader, is you want to help your staff grow. You don't want to, hold them back because you're too scared. I think that's really something that I try and do as much as I can. And I know I've still got a lot to learn as well with when it comes to things, but and having good communication with the team, so that they can come to you if there is something that's, happened or that's bothering them, that it doesn't bottle and fester. And yeah, that's when things sort of, get it out of control if they're not dealt with quickly.
So true. That's amazing. And I really appreciate that piece when, if an agency is more, or their principals are heavily involved in the sales side of things and not having the awareness or the understanding of PM and the emotional toll, the problem solving, all those ups and downs that it comes within the PM. So I think what you've done there is just to really have that awareness piece, which is huge as a leader, and taking them on that journey as well. Certainly sounds exciting. So I want to find out though, Eleve, like, where did the name come from? The values, what does it mean? Give me an insight of how this concept came to life. Hey guys, just a little side note here. How's it going? Are you on track this year? I know that sometimes this part of the year we can feel like we're in a bit of a grind, a bit of in the trenches. Are you on track from the original plans that you set out for the rest of this year? What I've realized is that with this time of year, we get so distracted and we've got trying to chase so many shiny balls and go down so many rabbit holes. And that's why I created a program called the 90. It's a framework that actually allows you to achieve more in 90 days than ever before. Some of the feedback that we've got from some of the people that have used the process, the 90, is that they've achieved more in 90 days than the whole previous year. So if you'd like to have the tools, have the techniques, have the framework on the 90, so you and your team can achieve more in 90 days than ever before. What it does, it impacts you of how to get clear, what you need to do, and who you need to be to show up in order to achieve the things you want to achieve over the next 90 days. Simply head over to jamesshort.com.au, click on join the waitlist, fill in your details, and one of the team members will be in touch and take you through the 90 framework. On with the show.
So the name was probably the hardest thing to think of. And I remember waking up one morning and I was like, right, I need to sort the business name out today. I'd thought of a couple of ideas and nothing just felt right. Like as soon as I pick one, I'm going to know, and I'm not there yet. And I was trying to think of, different words that, and something that's not commonly used, and was looking up different word meanings. So Eleve in French, or I think they properly French pronunciation, but I may be getting this wrong because I'm terrible, is Eleve, means to rise or to raise and to elevate. So eleve, the verb is, so that's the meaning behind it. Because what I was wanting to do, because I had previously had my own business and a lot has changed since then. And I was like, no, I can't go back to unique. It's just not, I need a version 3.0. And then as soon as I thought of Eleve and saw the meaning behind it, I was like, that's it. That's the one. That's it. I'm in love.
Love it.
So it just seemed to fit, because what we're wanting to do is, really be a place for investors from start to finish, not just for the property management side, but because I also dabble in sales because, why not? Let's keep things interesting. So I really want to be there for that whole process because, when you think about it, and I don't think a lot of, especially a lot of other, typical agencies, they look at you're either a PM or you're a sales agent. But if you've got a PM, because what are some of the good characteristics for selling? You need to be able to relate to people, talk to people, highlight the key points of the property. If you've got an investor selling or buying, and you've got your property manager who has managed that property for X amount of time, or that knows the area for rentals back to front, who better than to take them along that journey?
Totally.
It's just sort of, an extra, layer that we can add, because we can, go through a property. And that's where we can tie in with our investor support service especially for investors out of area, where we can go through a property if they can't inspect. We know what tenants want. We know areas that they could increase value, and it can be an impartial view and be like, well, this property would work, this one wouldn't, and really try and get them to remove that, like the emotional buying. Because a lot of investors, if it's their first property, think, oh, well, I wouldn't live there, or, oh, I don't like this, or I prefer it this way. you've sort of got to take them on that journey and help educate them as to why and how to sort of change it and look at it, not in a sense, a little bit more like a business transaction, but not. But so they remove that emotional. So, okay, well, let's look at what tenants in this area need. So for orange, good heating for winter.
Yep.
And from people from out of area, oh, does it get that cold? Yes, it snows. Like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. Or, this particular area over that particular area, or, this is where the hospital is, and a few other things. So just those really key insights so that when people buy a property, it's actually going to attract those good quality tenants of what they're after. So that's really sort of the brainchild of Eleve Realty. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
I love it. Congratulations on that journey. Well done. Now, obviously, then going through this whole transition, you've unpacked some of the systems that you were using and now you are using. You've taken on ALO, which I'm hearing more and more great positive reviews from it. Talk to me about systemizing and what you look for. How do you go about it? How do you systemize the business and what does that look like for you?
I think because I'm very hands-on with things, it sort of gives me a very good, overview. If there's something that I'm, doing or feedback from the girls that I'm getting, and I'm just thinking, this is getting a bit clunky or it's just getting a bit too much. I mean, having, Property Me, Tarpy, or Flick It Over, Inspection Express, like that's a lot of systems. And you've got, so many different areas where owners are getting, inspections from here and there. I'm like, there has to be a better way. So then I started looking at more of the, other systems that they had and ones that even possibly move away from your typical trust accounts, which at first you think, how on earth does that work?
Yep.
And like, even though, we'll still be maintaining the trust account side of things, being able to have a lot of the accounting side automated and not having to think of end of month, being able to give owners more options for their payments, which I think is really important at the moment with cost of living, because sometimes people, don't want to have to wait until mid-month or end of month. But if you're using one of those standard systems and having to manually do it, it's taking up extra time if you were to offer, weekly payments or bi-weekly payments instead of mid and end of month.
Yep.
So I always look at, what the system would be able to do for us, what we'd be able to, replace if we did bring it on, and then what sort of time factor it could look at saving for us. But then also the client experience, is changing this going to make it better and easier for our, landlords and tenants? Because if it's only going to make our job easier and it's going to be more complicated for owners and tenants, and it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So there's a whole, sort of range that you've got to look at and feedback that you're getting from clients, whether it be good, bad, whatever it is, and taking that on board and thinking, right, well, maybe there is something we can do. Let's have a look. So I think that's probably the main thing that we've sort of look at when we're looking at the systems. But then also speaking to other people and networking is a big thing, being on, the property management forums. So you can see what's working for people, getting feedback, and then, doing demos and having a little bit of a play, and not just, I think it took quite a few months before I was really set in stone to change, because, I've used Property Me for, I think, since 2016, so about 11 years. So
yeah, wow.
It's quite a long time.
Yep.
And I think, especially, if you're going to be change averse in this industry, it's going to hold you back. Yep. You need to be happy to sort of move forward with the times and make educated changes along the way. That's going to simplify our role and free you up for, the more important parts of the job, is that, communication with owners and the personal touches.
Yeah, I love that. And when you're looking at that systemizing approach, is how can I help the team, and then how can I help our clients to make the process more easier to use, more friendly to use, and more streamlined. So that's fantastic. And then on that, like, you've gone from obviously property manager to property mentor, helping the team and helping the clients on that client journey. What has been the biggest lessons for you to now switch those gears and really step into that property mentor role?
I think probably one of the biggest challenges has been to sort of helping like retrain tenants. Not as much owners because I'm still very hands-on with them, but especially with the tenant side of things, because 9 times out of 10, the girls can help them with what they're after. So that retraining that, they don't just have to speak to me, because obviously, you get to a point, whereas if, I was to speak to, everyone, if they only wanted to talk to me, that would be my day done and dusted. And I would have no time to think of anything in regards to the growth for the business. So I think that's been probably one of the big challenges, or even, like if I'm at a conference or meeting or something and I can't take calls, that, people can expect to hear from one of the girls if I physically can't speak to them. So at least they're getting acknowledged.
Great.
And that, well, she's doing this, but, is there something that I can help you with? I think that's probably been, we're still working through that as well. That's a whole, sort of education and people feeling comfortable and getting to know the girls as much as, as myself. But I think moving forward to continue to grow the business, that's something that, I definitely need to, stick with and try and look at ways to, streamline that even more so that it can, free me up, because otherwise it can be very challenging, usually on one phone call, then you miss 5 in between. Like, I'm not even catching up.
That's right. That's right. And that's the joys of guiding the ship now, isn't it? Where you've gone through, you've reviewed where things were, you've set the plan for moving forward, and you continually adapt and develop and see what else is out there. And whilst you're mentoring the team and educating the clients, and I think, and I want to segue into that. So you talked about growth as a moving forward. What does specifically the next 6 to 12 months look like for you and for the business? Are there any key projects? Are there any key exciting things coming up?
I think for the next sort of a definite sort of like a 2 month time frame is just, getting all set in the office, making sure everyone, knows where we are, even though we've sent numerous correspondence, people are still going to sort of the old address or sending things through to their old email address and things. So first is just focusing on really our current clients and getting them educated, informed of where we are, what we're doing, and so that they're comfortable as well. And then once we sort of feel like that's really, meshed and gelled with everyone, then look at starting at the growth piece. So that we're starting to do, like I'm doing a sponsorship with like a golf course for some of the ladies' days. I'm wanting to really focus and get out there in the community, because I think that's something where it was sort of lacking before, wasn't really doing very much. So that's like a big, one of the big tasks of what we're looking at doing. Next is I'm getting some books printed that I've written. So one's an investing in orange book, that we're going to be giving to like allied partners, so like brokers, other agents that don't do rentals, accountants, those sorts of things, to pass on to clients, which is just a nice, like it's sort of a soft touch point for someone. You're not getting in their face and, this is what you should be doing, and list your property with me. It's that whole education piece. And I think that's where a lot of people see value, because if you're willing to give, that sort of information so that people can learn, then they look to you as sort of the expert in that area. So that's on the to-do list. Then there's another book, 12 smart investing tips. So that'll again be used a similar sort of strategy. And then just really, getting out and about, getting the name out there. And
Love it.
So that's
Busy
sort
schedule,
of the key.
fantastic. That's great, and it's exciting to see and watch you and the team and the business develop. From where you've come from to where you are and where you're actually heading. So it's an amazing journey to watch. Is there anything else that you feel that we haven't covered that the audience needs to be aware of, educated, shared with, that we haven't covered already?
Uh, I think just the main main key points and like advice that I could give for anyone, whether they're new in the industry or been in the industry a long time, is just really helping, like really develop your network of people, because the network that I have been so fortunate to make in this industry, and the friendships has been, so absolutely incredible. And that's where you get, so many ideas, or, if you're having a rough day and you've got, oh, I just don't even know how to deal with this like fire that's brewing. What do I do? You're having someone else that you can call that's in the same profession, that's, doing what you're doing day to day. And sometimes just being able to give you a different perspective and say, oh, well, hey, did you think about doing it this way? And you go, oh, the penny drops. Like, why didn't I think of that? Because sometimes you just get so caught up, and especially if it's something challenging, where you sort of, you do get quite emotionally into it. You can't sort of sometimes see through it. Having someone that you can call on, or a group of people, or where you're sharing ideas, it can just be little things. And you think, oh, that's great. Either yes, that would work, or no, it wouldn't. And probably last point would be, just look at implementing. You can go to and do so much training and watch all different podcasts, seminars, whatever it is. If you don't have a good strategy for implementation, you could go to every single conference and it wouldn't, grow or expand your business. You have to implement. That's really the key.
I love that. I love that. I've got a personal saying, knowing and not doing is like not knowing at all. So I love that implementation strategy. Definitely highly recommend that. So Simone, obviously with the new brand, where can the audience follow your journey, maybe reach out and get in contact with you? Where should they go?
So our website is www.eleve Realty. So that's ELEVER realty.com.au. So we're also on socials under Simone Fogarty and Eleve Realty. They're, wherever we are on there. We're trying to get on TikTok as well, but yeah, I'm still building up my confidence for that platform.
I love it. Well done.
It's a little bit challenging, but we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Perseverance.
We'll get there. Simone, really appreciate your time, your energy, and your expertise today. Congratulations on the new branding, the new adventure, and best of luck with it. Thank you for joining us today.
No, thank you so much for having me, James.